So there I was, standing in my kitchen at 2 a.m., staring at my husband's phone that he'd left charging on the counter. You know that moment when your gut is screaming at you, but your brain is trying to rationalize everything? Yeah, that was me. And what I found on that phone didn't just break my heart. It gave me the most diabolical idea for our upcoming 10th anniversary party. But before we dive into how I turned what was supposed to be a celebration of our marriage into the most epic revenge plot this side of a Netflix drama, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because trust me, you're going to want to follow along for more stories where karma gets a little help from yours truly. My name is Sarah, and up until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. My husband, David, and I met in college, got married right after graduation, and built what I thought was an amazing life together. He's a successful marketing executive. I run my own interior design business. And we have this beautiful house in suburbia with the white picket fence and everything. Classic American dream, right? We've been planning our 10th anniversary party for months. I'm talking full-scale celebration with 150 guests, catered dinner, live band, the works. David insisted we go all out because, and I quote, "We need to show everyone how strong our marriage is." Looking back, that should have been red flag number one, but I was so caught up in the romance of it all. The party was supposed to be this coming Saturday. I'd sent out invitations to everyone, our families, friends from college, David's coworkers, my business associates, neighbors, literally everyone we knew. I booked the country club, hired photographers, even had a videographer because David wanted to capture every moment of our perfect love story. Perfect love story. More like perfect horror story. So back to that night 3 weeks ago. David had been acting weird for months. Working late, constantly, being secretive with his phone, taking calls in the other room. Classic cheating husband behavior, but I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. He'd even started this new workout routine and bought all these new clothes. Said he wanted to look good for our anniversary photos. That night, he came home around midnight, claiming he'd been at a client dinner that ran late. He showered immediately, which was weird because he usually just crashes on the couch when he's tired. Then he plugged in his phone and went straight to bed without even saying good night properly. I couldn't sleep. Something felt off. So I got up to get some water, and there it was, his phone lighting up with notifications. I'm not proud of what I did next, but desperation makes you do crazy things. I knew his passcode because we'd always been open about that stuff. Or so I thought. The first thing I saw was a text thread with someone named Ashley Jim. But this wasn't Jim talk. This was full-blown, explicit 6 months deep affair talk. I'm talking about messages that would make a romance novelist blush. Plans to meet up, complaints about having to pretend everything was normal with me, discussions about their future together after he figured out the divorce situation. But here's the kicker, and this is where it gets really twisted. She was planning to be at our anniversary party. Apparently, David had invited her as his +1 for work networking and told everyone she was a new client. She was literally going to sit there, eat the food I paid for, drink the wine I selected, and watch me give a speech about how much I loved my cheating husband. I spent the rest of that night going through months of messages, photos, social media stalking, the whole 9 yards. Ashley works at David's gym. She's 26, blonde, recently divorced, and based on her Instagram, has absolutely no shame about being a homewrecker. She'd even posted gym selfies with David in the background with captions like, "Some workouts are more fun than others," with the winky face emoji. The worst part, they'd been laughing about me, calling me clueless, boring, saying I was too focused on my little decorating business to notice what was happening right under my nose. David had even told her about surprise anniversary gift I'd been planning for him, a custom watch with our wedding date engraved on it, and they'd made jokes about how pathetic it was. I could have confronted him, right then, could have thrown his phone at the wall, screamed, cried, demanded explanations. But you know what? I'm not that person. I'm the person who plans themed birthday parties 2 months in advance and color coordinates my closet. I'm methodical. I'm strategic. And right then, sitting on my kitchen floor at 3 a.m., surrounded by tissues and the shattered pieces of my marriage, I realized something important. I had a party to plan, just not the party David was expecting. See, the beautiful thing about planning events for a living is that you learn how to think 3 steps ahead. You learn how to manage guest lists, coordinate timing, and create memorable moments. You also learn how to handle logistics when everything goes wrong. And boy, was I about to make everything go wrong for David. First, I had to keep acting normal. This was actually easier than you'd think because David was so wrapped up in his affair that he barely paid attention to me anyway. I went through the motions, confirmed catering details, picked up his tuxedo from the dry cleaner, even bought new lingerie for our romantic anniversary night. The whole time, I was planning his public downfall with the same attention to detail I usually reserved for color schemes and flower arrangements. Step 1 was research. I spent the next week documenting everything. Screenshots of conversations, photos of them together that I found on social media, credit card statements showing charges at hotels and restaurants I'd never been to. I even hired a private investigator. Yes, really to get professional photos of them together. Turns out they had a regular Tuesday lunch spot and weren't exactly discreet about their public displays of affection. Step 2 was planning the reveal. I couldn't just blurt it out at the party like some daytime talk show. This needed to be cinematic. It needed to be unforgettable. It needed to hurt exactly as much as finding those messages had hurt me. Remember how David wanted everything filmed? Well, I decided to lean into that. I contacted our videographer and photographer separately and told them there was going to be a special surprise moment during my speech that they absolutely could not miss. I may have implied it was going to be a vow renewal or pregnancy announcement. They were so excited about capturing this beautiful moment that they agreed to set up additional cameras. I also reached out to a few key people in advance. David's boss, who I'd always gotten along with great. My sister, who never liked David, but kept quiet for my sake. Our pastor, who was supposed to say a blessing over our marriage. I didn't tell them exactly what was coming, but I made sure they'd all be paying extra attention during the speech portion of the evening. The hardest part was dealing with Ashley. She was actually going to show up to this party, sit at a table I had assigned her to, eat food I had selected, and pretend to be a professional contact while sleeping with my husband. The audacity was breathtaking. But here's where my event planning skills really came in handy. I managed to get her full name from David's contacts when he was in the shower. Then I did what any good event planner does. I researched my attendee. Turns out Ashley had quite the social media presence. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, the works. She posted everything, her workout routines, her meals, her thoughts on dating, even her work schedule at the gym. She also had a very public Facebook relationship status change from 6 months ago, right when her affair with David started, that said, finally free from toxic relationships and ready to find someone who appreciates me. The comments were full of her friends saying things like, "You deserve so much better," and "Can't wait to meet the lucky guy who treats you right." Oh, Ashley, you have no idea what's coming. I spent 2 weeks perfecting every detail. The seating chart got rearranged, so Ashley would be at a table right in front of the main podium where everyone could see her reaction. I made sure David's parents were positioned where they'd have a clear view of everything. I even coordinated with the catering staff to ensure that the microphone system would be crystal clear for my speech. The day of the party arrived, and I was surprisingly calm. I got my hair and makeup done, put on the gorgeous silver dress I bought specifically for this occasion, and even wore the diamond earrings David had given me for our 5th anniversary. If I was going to burn my marriage to the ground, I was going to look absolutely stunning while doing it. David was nervous all day, which I initially thought was about the affair. But then I realized he was actually nervous about his own speech. He kept asking me if I thought people would be impressed, if I thought it would be memorable. He had no idea just how memorable this evening was about to become. Guests started arriving at 6. I played the perfect hostess, greeting everyone with hugs and smiles, making sure they had drinks, introducing people who didn't know each other. David worked the room like the politician. He basically was shaking hands and slapping backs and telling everyone how lucky he was to have me. Ashley arrived at 7, fashionably late and wearing a red dress that was definitely more nightclub than anniversary celebration. She air-kissed David hello, and I caught the way his hand lingered on her waist just a second too long before he introduced her around as a valued client and fitness inspiration. Fitness inspiration. I almost laughed out loud. The dinner portion went perfectly. Everyone was having a great time. The food was excellent. The band was playing all the right songs. I gave a few small toasts throughout the meal, thanking people for coming and talking about how meaningful it was to celebrate this milestone with everyone we loved. David kept catching my eye across the room and smiling, probably thinking about how well his deception was going. Ashley was charming the table, talking about her business consulting work and how professional relationships can really enrich your life. The irony was almost too much to bear. At 9:30, it was time for speeches. David went first, and I have to admit, he's a good speaker. He talked about our journey together, the challenges we'd overcome, the dreams we'd built together. He thanked everyone for being part of our love story and said he couldn't wait to see what the next 10 years would bring. The crowd loved it. People were actually getting emotional. Someone shouted goals from the back of the room. Even I almost felt bad about what I was about to do. Then it was my turn. I walked up to the podium, adjusted the microphone, and looked out at the sea of faces, family, friends, colleagues, all the people who mattered most in our lives. David was beaming at me from his seat at the head table. Ashley was checking her phone, probably texting someone about how awkward it was to watch me praise my husband while she was sleeping with him. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. When David and I started planning this party, he told me he wanted it to be unforgettable. He wanted to make sure everyone here tonight would leave with a story to tell. Chuckles from the crowd. David nodded approvingly. Well, David, I think we can definitely say mission accomplished on that front. I paused and pulled out my phone. This was the moment everything changed. 10 years of marriage teaches you a lot about a person. You learn their habits, their quirks, their patterns. Like how David always puts his phone face down when he comes home from the gym. Or how he's suddenly become very interested in working out at a new place across town. Or how he started buying new clothes and cologne. The room was getting quieter. David's smile was starting to look a little forced. But the thing that really surprised me was learning that David apparently thinks our marriage is so strong that it can handle him having a 6-month affair with his personal trainer. Dead silence. You could have heard a pin drop in that ballroom. Oh, yes, everyone. My devoted husband of 10 years has been cheating on me. And not only that, but he actually invited his girlfriend to our anniversary party tonight as his client. I turned and looked directly at Ashley, whose face had gone completely white. Then I looked at David, who was starting to stand up from his chair. Sit down, David. I'm not finished. The authority in my voice must have shocked him because he actually sat back down. Ashley, sweetheart, could you please stand up? I'd like everyone to meet my husband's girlfriend. Ashley looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor, but she didn't move. So I helpfully pointed her out. Right there, everyone. In the red dress. The woman who's been texting my husband about their future together after he figures out the divorce situation. The woman who calls me boring and clueless. Wave to everyone, Ashley. The crowd was absolutely stunned. People were pulling out their phones to record. David's mother looked like she might faint. My sister was trying not to smile. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Sarah, why are you doing this here? In front of everyone, why not handle this privately? Well, let me tell you why. I pulled up the screenshots I'd saved on my phone and connected it to the projector screen we'd set up for displaying photos throughout the night, because David and Ashley thought I was too stupid to figure it out. They've been laughing about me for months, making jokes about my little decorating business and how oblivious I am. The first screenshot appeared on the big screen. A text from David to Ashley saying Sarah is working late again on one of her little projects. Coast is clear if you want to come over. Gasps from the audience. David shot up from his chair. Sarah, stop this right now. This is insane. What's insane, David, is that you thought you could bring your mistress to our anniversary party and I'd just smile and serve cake. What's insane is that you've been lying to my face for 6 months while planning our future with another woman. I clicked to the next screenshot. Ashley complaining about how David's wife is so boring, she probably doesn't even know how to keep a man interested. Tell me, Ashley, how does it feel to have 150 people know exactly what you think of me? Ashley finally found her voice. This is a private matter. You can't just dash. Private. I interrupted. You made it public the moment you started posting gym selfies with my husband. You made it public when you agreed to come to our anniversary party. You made it public when you started planning a future with a married man. I clicked through a few more screenshots, their lunch dates, their hotel visits, their discussions about my supposed shortcomings as a wife. The crowd was completely captivated. Some people were horrified, others were clearly entertained by the drama unfolding before them. But here's my favorite part. I continued, pulling up the final screenshot. This message from Ashley to David last week. I can't wait until Saturday night is over, and we don't have to pretend anymore. Watching you fake being happy with her is going to be torture. I looked directly at Ashley. Well, sweetheart, the torture is over. You don't have to pretend anymore. David was red-faced and furious. Sarah, you've made your point. Can we please discuss this like adults in private? Oh, now you want to act like an adult? Now you want privacy? After 6 months of sneaking around behind my back, you want to be mature about this? I turned back to the crowd, most of whom were still in shock, but definitely invested in seeing how this played out. I want everyone here to know that I didn't do this for revenge, although I'll admit it feels pretty good. I did this because I refuse to be made a fool of. I refuse to let David rewrite our story and make me the naive wife who never saw it coming. I saw it coming from 3 weeks ago, and I planned accordingly. I gestured to the photographers and videographer who had indeed captured every moment of this spectacular meltdown. David wanted this night to be unforgettable. He wanted it filmed. He wanted to make sure everyone would leave with a story to tell. Well, congratulations. Honey, you got exactly what you asked for. At this point, people were starting to recover from their shock. David's boss was shaking his head in disgust. My mother-in-law was crying. Several of our couple friends were having whispered conversations that probably started with, "Did you know?" But the best reaction was from our pastor, who stood up and said, "Well, I think we can skip the blessing over this marriage." That got a few nervous laughs from the crowd. David tried one last time to take control of the situation. "Everyone, I'm sorry you had to witness this. Sarah is clearly having some kind of breakdown, Breakdown? I interrupted. "David, The only thing breaking down here is your ability to keep lying. But don't worry about me. I'm actually doing great. I've got a successful business, amazing friends, and now I'm about to be single and ready to find someone who actually deserves me. I turned to Ashley one more time. As for you, congratulations. You won. You get David all to yourself now. Just remember, if he'll cheat with you, he'll cheat on you. But hey, I'm sure you guys will be very happy together in whatever cheap motel you end up calling home after I get finished with the divorce proceedings. Ashley finally spoke up, her voice shaky. I never meant for it to happen this way, Dash. Oh, but you did. I cut her off. You absolutely did. You knew he was married. You knew he had a wife who loved him. You knew exactly what you were doing, and you didn't care about the consequences until those consequences showed up with a microphone and a projector screen. I looked around the room one final time. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others looked impressed. A few looked like they wished they had popcorn. My sister gave me a thumbs up. So, everyone, thank you for coming to what I guess is actually my divorce announcement party. The bar is still open, the band is still playing, and the cake is still delicious. Please stay and enjoy yourselves. This is actually the best party I've ever thrown. I started to walk away from the podium, then turned back. Oh, and David, your suitcases are packed and waiting by the front door at home. I had the locks changed this afternoon. You and Ashley can figure out your own accommodations tonight. Consider it your first real date as a public couple. The microphone picked up someone in the back yelling, "Damn, Sarah," and the spell was broken. People started talking all at once. Some came up to hug me and tell me how sorry they were. Others were clearly dying to get the full story. A few people actually left, probably too uncomfortable to stay for the aftermath. But most people stayed. And you know what? It actually turned into a great party. Once the initial shock wore off, people seemed to rally around me. The band started playing more upbeat music. People were buying me drinks and telling me how brave I was. Several of David's co-workers made a point of telling me they'd always thought he was a jerk. David and Ashley left within 15 minutes, slinking out like the cowards they were. David tried to approach me one more time, probably to negotiate or threaten or beg, but my brother-in-law stepped in and suggested that might not be the best idea. The photographers still took pictures, but now they were candid shots of me laughing with friends and family instead of posed couple photos. The videographer asked if I wanted him to edit out the speech portion, and I told him absolutely not. I wanted the whole thing preserved for posterity. As the night wound down and people started to leave, I realized something important. I wasn't embarrassed. I wasn't ashamed. I was proud of myself for taking control of the situation and refusing to be a victim. Yes, it was dramatic. Yes, it was public. But it was also honest, and it was on my terms. My best friend stayed until the very end to help me clean up. As we were packing up the remaining flowers and decorations, she asked me if I regretted doing it that way. Are you kidding? I told her. This was the most empowering night of my life. For 6 months, David and Ashley thought they were so smart, sneaking around behind my back and laughing about how clueless I was. Tonight, everyone saw exactly who they really are. Tonight, I got to control the narrative instead of being a footnote in their love story. The divorce proceedings are going smoothly. By the way, turns out that when you have detailed documentation of your spouse's affair, along with video evidence of him bringing his mistress to your anniversary party, things move pretty quickly through the legal system. My lawyer was absolutely delighted with how thorough my evidence was. David tried to claim I was mentally unstable and that my public outburst proved I was unfit for spousal support. But funny thing about bringing your girlfriend to your wedding anniversary party, it doesn't really support your argument that your wife is the unreasonable one in the relationship. Ashley got fired from the gym. apparently because several members complained about her unprofessional conduct after the story made its way through our social circles. She also had to make her Instagram private because people kept commenting on her posts asking if she was still helping married men with their fitness goals. As for David, well, let's just say his reputation took a bit of a hit. It's amazing how quickly word spreads in professional circles when you publicly humiliate yourself at a party full of colleagues. His company has a pretty strict ethics policy about personal conduct that reflects poorly on the business. I hear he's been having some interesting conversations with HR. But the best part, 3 months later, I found out through mutual friends that David and Ashley broke up. Apparently, once the excitement of sneaking around was gone, and they had to actually build a real relationship, they discovered they didn't have much in common besides a gym membership and a shared willingness to betray people who trusted them. David has tried to reach out a few times, usually late at night when he's been drinking, asking if we can work things out and put this all behind us. I screenshot those messages too, just in case, but I don't respond. There's nothing to work out. He made his choice when he decided our marriage vows were just suggestions. I'm doing great, by the way. My business is thriving. Turns out that planning a spectacular public confrontation is excellent marketing for an event planner. I've had 3 new clients hire me specifically because they heard about my attention to detail and ability to create unforgettable moments. I bought a new house, smaller than the one David and I shared, but it's all mine and nobody's sneaking around behind my back in it. I redecorated it exactly how I wanted, with no input from anyone else. It's bright and cheerful and completely drama-free. I also started dating again, which has been interesting. Men seem to be impressed by the anniversary party story, although a few have joked that they'd better never cheat on me because they're afraid of what I might do. Good. They should be afraid. Not because I'm vindictive, but because I'm not willing to settle for being treated poorly ever again. The whole experience taught me something important about myself. I'm not the quiet, accommodating wife who just takes whatever life throws at her. I'm strategic, I'm resourceful, and I'm perfectly capable of standing up for myself when necessary. David underestimated me, and that was his biggest mistake. Sometimes people ask me if I feel bad about humiliating David and Ashley so publicly. The short answer is no. The long answer is that they humiliated themselves. I just provided the venue and the microphone. They're the ones who chose to have an affair. They're the ones who chose to lie and sneak around. They're the ones who chose to disrespect my marriage and laugh about my supposed ignorance. All I did was tell the truth. If the truth was embarrassing for them, well, maybe they should have thought about that before they decided to trash my marriage for their own entertainment. I've learned that there's power in refusing to be quiet about being wronged. There's power in controlling your own narrative instead of letting other people write your story for you. And there's definitely power in planning ahead and paying attention to details. So if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, and I hope you never do, remember this. You don't have to be the victim. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to protect people who wouldn't protect you. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad. It's getting even, getting out, and getting on with your fabulous new life. And if you're planning your own revenge plot, remember to document everything, invite plenty of witnesses, and always make sure the microphone is working properly. Trust me on that one. The video of my speech, by the way, has been viewed over 2 million times on various social media platforms. I didn't post it myself. Apparently, several guests recorded it and shared it with friends who shared it with their friends. It's become something of a viral sensation in the scorned wife gets perfect revenge category. I've gotten messages from women all over the world thanking me for showing them that they don't have to accept being treated poorly. Some of them have shared their own stories of discovering affairs and finding the courage to leave. Others have told me they confronted their own cheating partners after watching my speech. That feedback means more to me than any revenge ever could. If my public meltdown helped even one woman realize she deserves better than being lied to and disrespected, then it was worth every awkward moment and uncomfortable conversation that followed. So that's my story, everyone. The night I turned my anniversary party into a divorce announcement and my cheating husband's worst nightmare. It wasn't the celebration I planned, but it was definitely the celebration I deserved. Thanks for listening. And remember, life is too short to waste on people who don't appreciate you. Sometimes you have to flip the script and write your own ending. Make sure it's one you can be proud of. And hey, if you enjoyed this story of spectacular revenge and personal empowerment, make sure to subscribe for more tales of people who refuse to go quietly into that good night. Because sometimes the best stories come from the worst situations, and there's always something to learn from watching someone take control of their own narrative. Until next time, this is Sarah, reminding you that anniversary parties are supposed to be about celebrating love, but sometimes they're about celebrating freedom instead. And honestly, both are worth raising a glass to.